All right, welcome back. Day 3 of our food videos. Today we're going to continue on with the sourdough starter project. That I'm on day 3. You guys should be on day 2. This morning I went on and did just a little quick video of what my starter looked like before I made my first batch of the dough that we're going to use today. Today we're going to make sourdough pretzels and a spiked up cheese sauce. We also are going to do a couple of the pretzels with just cinnamon sugar on it for the kiddos. And I'm going to start by making the dough, and then we're going to work on how to form the pretzels, but we're going to make pretzel bites for time's sake today. But this is a sample of the pretzels that I made this morning, and I am going to show you how to shape them and give you a couple tips on that. But we're going to make bites because it's going to go a lot quicker when we get down to it. And then we're going to make a bechamel sauce, which is a classic French sauce, a white sauce using a roux and milk. And we're going to add our beer and some cheese and spiked up jalapeno chipotle peppers to that, so we can have a dip for our pretzels. And to my good friend Joanna out there in Massachusetts, who said
her husband's watching.
Oh, well, that's good. Her husband's watching. Who said that all the carbs don't count during a pandemic. And if you go over to the Edge Fitness Clubs, you can get all their free videos on Instagram and Facebook, and you could do your workouts while your dough is proofing and your food is cooking, and then you could have no guilt high carb foods, because who doesn't love carbs when we're in a crisis? So I'm going to go ahead and get started with this. To make the pretzel dough, you need milk that is warmed to the 100-degree temperature that we talk about. And that's just a little bit over body temperature. You could stick a thermometer in it and take the temperature if you want, but if you touch it with your finger and it's burning, that's too hot, and that's going to kill your yeast. So for this recipe, we're going to use 1 tablespoon of melted butter, 1 tablespoon of sugar, half a cup of milk. I'm doing half recipe this time because I just don't need all these pretzels here. And then I'm going to post the full recipe on our YouTube channel and Instagram. So we're going to kind of mix up that a little bit here, and then we're going to add in 3/4 of our starter. Now I took mine out of the jar just so you could see it today, but it's got those bubbles in it. I've already interrupted this once today and fed it. So you guys don't forget to feed your starters. So 3/4 cup is going to look about like that to me. You're welcome to measure it. And then after you've taken that out, remember you're going to feed your starter with 1 cup of flour and a half cup of water, and stir that all up, and then put it aside again and let it keep doing its thing. We're working on getting to 5 days of this. When we get to the 5th day of this, we're really going to have that sourdough smell and feel that is going to make that sourdough bread that we're going to make in about 5 days really awesome. But in the meantime, I'm trying to show you ways to use up the starter that you pour off, because low carb turkey chili on that. All right, so to this mix, you just want to see how it's kind of sticking to the whisk there. You just kind of want to dissolve that starter. It has a sticky, gluey texture to it that you want to work in to the bowl before we go ahead and add our flour. And what we're going to add is 2 cups of all-purpose flour. And get that mixed in. All right. Now you're probably going to want to switch from the whisk to your hands. Now you guys can go ahead and do this with your hand, but as you saw in our video before, I had a little hand washing issue, so I'm going to keep the glove on today. The reason I like doing it with my hands, and I can tell you right now, is I could feel the dough better with my hands. Right now, I can't tell you what this feels like. I mean, I could feel the texture of it, but I can't really get a sense of what it feels like. So again, we're working this in here to get all that flour incorporated into our dough. Mine feels a little bit dry, so I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of this butter to it and work that in. It's not a sticky dough, it's a soft dough. All right, and then when you get to a point where you've picked up all the ingredients in the bowl, you're going to want to bring it to the table and work it on the surface, which I have pre-cleaned my surface. And again, we're bringing the edges to the middle, and we're working this doesn't have any extra yeast added to it. We're just going with the action that we got going in our starter there. But you could see the fermentation and the bubbles on the top of that, so you know this is going to rise. All right, now the recipe that I'm using suggests to rest this for 2 hours. So, like yesterday, I came out earlier and made it. So you're going to put that back in your bowl, butter the edge, and you're going to cover it with a towel and set it aside for 2 hours in a warm spot. Let's get this guy out of here too. All right, now here's the dough that I made earlier, and it doubled in size. So I'm going to punch it down. This is a great, when you punch that down, take a smell of that, because that is live yeast, a little bit of alcohol in there too. All right, we're going to mix that up again. Let me just bring this guy in first. Okay. Develop the gluten in it. All right. And now I'm going to switch from this to my regular hand. So to bake the long pretzels, we're going to cut pieces of dough about this size and roll them out. And when you roll, you want to put equal pressure from the center to the tips and kind of stretch it as you go. Whoops, that's not equal pressure. Okay, oops, go back together. And make sure you get the ends the same thickness as the middles here, because when it cooks, it has to be even all the way around. All right, so now we're going to do the pretzel in the mall twist. You bring the two ends up, you twist them twice around each other, and you come back down to here, and you form your little pretzel. All right, I'll do it one more time. Roll it from the middle out, get a nice long strand. You can make these pretzels any size you want. I didn't want to make big monster mall pretzels. I wanted to keep them fairly portion controlled. All right, so here's the secret twist. And you could do pretzel rods too if you don't want to twist them. You could do breadstick pretzel rods like this. Come up to the top, trade fingers, twist. So there's a double twist in there, and come back down the center, and then give your pretzel a little shape. Now, they said in this that you should put these in the freezer before you throw them in the water. Now, a pretzel has to get put in a baking soda water solution and boiled for a minute or two till they come to the top, rise to the top, and then you put them in a 400-degree oven to bake. So they've got like 2 steps to them, like a bagel. All right, last time I'm going to show this, demonstrate this. All right, so up to the top, twist. You got your double twist, and then bring it back down to the bottom and form it. Okay, but what we're going to do, for the sake of time here, is we're going to do pretzel bites. So you're just going to chunk them off. Make them as big or as small as you want. I'd say like, little 1-inch pieces. Okay. And then you're going to go to, this is about 12 cups of water that you're going to bring to a boil. And when it's boiling, you're going to add 1 tablespoon of baking soda. And be careful when you do this, like make sure that you have a pot that has extra what's called head space in it, extra space in it, because the baking soda is going to make the water like puff up a little bit. So you want to make sure that you have room, that it's not going to like overflow. It's not going to catch on fire. It's just water and baking soda, but you want to make sure that you have room for that. So it's boiling water and 1 tablespoon of baking soda. And you can see it had like a little bit of a reaction, chemical reaction there. And then you're going to go ahead and drop your pretzel bites into the boiling water. And we're going to wait wait for them to rise. When they rise up to the surface, they're ready to go. Let's get a couple more so I can help this pan. When they rise up to the surface and they're ready to go, we're going to put them on a sprayed baking sheet. So you want to put like a little parchment paper down and then spray your cookie sheet. I forgot to do this morning and mine stuck a little bit. All right. And then you might need to get a spoon to like nudge them from the bottom of the pan like this. And when they float, I'm going to give them another minute or a minute, 2 minutes, especially that big one right there. And while I do that, I'm just going to see if you could throw in this one without freezing it. I said not to, but I'm a renegade. So let's see what happens when we just form it and throw it in. Because nobody has room in their freezers right now because we all went out and filled our freezers with chicken and turkey and
ice cream.
Ice cream. All right, so you kind of want to like drain these off. So remove them with a slotted spoon, or you could go pour the water out, but we're still going to be using this water for something. So, and then arrange them on a sheet. Make sure they're not touching each other. You don't want them to stick to each other. I think I'm going to get them all in here. That's good. Get these last little guys out of here. And then see, oh, they stuck together. No, can you see that? The big ones, they held together.
Yep.
So they float, they puff a little bit. I'm going to try and sneak them on here with these two. Or you know what, maybe I'll just keep these on here. And then just go ahead and drain them out, put them on your sprayed parchment sheet. All right. Now the next thing that we have to do with pretzels is we have to give them an egg wash so they have that glaze. So an egg wash is just a cracked egg and a little, maybe 2 teaspoons of water to get it a little smoother, a little softer, easier to brush. And go ahead and brush the tops of your big pretzels or mini pretzels, and then make sure these guys are spread apart. Egg wash every one of these guys. All right, and now it's time to talk toppings. You got some choices. I like to use Montreal seasoning, which is a steak rub seasoning, because it has pepper in it, crushed red pepper, and kosher salt. You're welcome to use just plain kosher salt if you want to do that. I also have this Lebanese herb mixture with sesame seeds. It's called Zaatar, Z-A-A-T-A-R. You could look it up. It adds a lot of tanginess. It has sumac in it, and it adds tanginess to those pretzel bites, which is going to really play off that Chipotle cream sauce we're going to make next. And then these 3 guys I'm going to make for Jaden. I'm going to do cinnamon sugar. So these you could do with cinnamon sugar and then make like a cream cheese frosting dip to put in them and have these later on today when you're looking around the kitchen for something sweet before you go to bed. All right, so we got our pretzels seasoned up. We're going to go ahead and put them in a 400-degree oven right here. And they're going to bake for 15 to 18 minutes. So we'll start with 15 and we'll see what we get from that. In the meantime, I'm going to make the cheese sauce. So I kind of come over here for this. So to make our cheese sauce, we're going to make a roux. And we're going to start with 2 tablespoons of melted butter. Get my whisk over here. 2 tablespoons of melted butter and 2 tablespoons of flour. This is a classic roux. It's used to thicken soups. It's used to make white sauce, which is the base of macaroni and cheese. I'm also going to show you how to turn this into Alfredo sauce after. So 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of flour, but I just realized I doubled this. So I did 4 tablespoons of butter and 4 tablespoons of flour because I wanted to make the white sauce after the fact. All right, so this should have the consistency of toothpaste or wet sand. So make sure you get the parts in the corner of your pan and get this hot. Now to this, we're going to add our milk. Which I have right here, 2 cups of milk. And this is going to cook down and get thick. I'd probably say it's going to come to a boil. Don't walk away from it. You know, pretty much stay here. You want a pretty thick bottom pot, not those skinny Farberware copper pots that everybody got in the 70s. This is Calphalon. I really like Calphalon. I've had this forever. It takes a beating. So this is going to thicken, and as it thickens, we're going to add some other ingredients to it to make our cheese sauce. But I'm going to just pour off half of this because I'm going to turn it into Alfredo sauce for some pasta that I have here too. All right, also we want to make sure we season it. Black pepper, salt, and my 2 favorite ingredients that go together always, onion powder, granulated onion, granulated garlic. Always go together, enhances everything that you're making. So it's starting to come to a boil and it's getting thick, and this is where you want to make sure you're getting that stuff off the edges. That's your thickening agent. You don't want that to pile up in the corners and burn. And you can lower it too if it's going too fast for you. I'm going to pick it back up again now because I don't want to watch milk boil all day. All right, to this we're going to add about 2 cups of cheese. It's what I had in the fridge. I had some cheddar cheese and some provolone. You could put anything you want in here. You could go back to the Gruyere that we had the other night on the onion soup and mix that in. I also want to put a little, sorry, don't charge you on the other side. I also want to put a little bit of cream cheese because that's going to give your cheese sauce elasticity and not bind up on you as it cools down. And then if you're doing this and you find out, oh, that's too thick, I don't like what that looks like, you could always add a little bit more milk into it. Or heavy cream, or cream, half and half. Non-dairy, you can make it with coconut milk. That blob of cream cheese mixed in there. All right. Also to this, when I get to this consistency, I'm going to add, I don't know, this is some Angry Orchard hard cider beer that somebody left here at a Super Bowl party. So stick that in there. Beer and pretzels, it's not to love. You could add mustard to this. You could dip your pretzels in mustard. You could stop right here with just this, but I want to kick it up. So I have this smoky chipotle pepper. It comes in this sauce, adobo sauce. I'm just going to throw some of that in there. You could grind these peppers up and put them in if you want. I'm going to save them for a chili that I'm doing later in the week. So put that in there. That's going to add a nice kick to our cheese sauce. All right, that looks pretty good to me. That's a nice consistency. Dip a pretzel right in there. This is where you would taste it. Make sure you have enough salt and pepper seasoning. I can use a little more salt. I always want to taste it before you serve it. It's not a mistake until you send it out. I think I could use a little more of these 2 lovelies. And I'm going to call that a day. All right, so let's set that aside until our pretzels are done for later. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do, because somebody asked me to show them how to make Alfredo sauce. This is like the simplest of simplest that there is in cuisine. Now, I kind of cheated by making that white sauce ahead of time, but what you want to do is take a little olive oil in a pan. Couple cloves of garlic, which you're going to just smack with the back of your knife and take that outer skin off of. Peel them right out of there. One day during this whole thing, we couldn't even find garlic in the store, but it's back now, so get some garlic. Antioxidant, it's good for you. Chop it up, pretty fine. And stick that in your oil. Go ahead and take get a picture of that now. Grab it. You could put butter in here too, if you have butter, you don't have olive oil. And once the garlic begins to cook here, you would add your heavy cream and reduce this down until it's nice and thick. Just keep reducing this. Salt and pepper. Everything's gonna have salt and pepper. We wanted to put fresh basil in this recipe today, but the store didn't have fresh basil, so we're just gonna make do with some Italian seasoning. Or maybe even that Zaatar. We'll give that a shot. Interesting. See what we got there. See how it's getting thick? I'm going to cheat. I'm going to add this white sauce that we made to it. That's one. That's one. Good stuff in there. So you could make a bechamel and just thin that out for Alfredo, or you could reduce heavy cream to make your Alfredo, but see how nice and thick that is. The next thing that you want to do is put in your pasta.
Already cooked.
This is cooked. I cooked this earlier, and I just held it off to the side. You know, proportionately. Looks good to me. Your pasta is going to need to be seasoned as well, unless you seasoned it after you cooked it. This would be where you put the basil in, or pesto, if you have pesto. Basil would really make this dish pop. Toss it around until it's all covered in sauce. The last ingredient that makes this really delicious is Parmesan cheese. No, Joanna, this one's not for you. Give it to the kids. Put them to sleep. And yeah, fresh basil, that would be great on here. You could put the Adobo sauce in that for a little kick. Or you could use crushed red pepper flakes. I like it hot, spicy. Got a little dried oregano and basil to give the Italian seasoned flavor. And I got a college kid at home. Now if it's cooked down and it's too thick, that looks a little thick to me. Put a little cream back in it and cook that out. Looks pretty good. Again, this is where you would taste it before you serve it. That's going to be Jaden's dinner later. So let's go back to our pretzels, because our other ones are baking in the oven. And we'll set up our cheese sauce in a little bowl here. Yum. That looks so good. Cheese fondue-ish. And don't dip the cinnamon ones in it, but delish. Now I'm going to go take a bar class. Thanks, everybody. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, which we're going to post there. Give us likes and shares, comments and suggestions. We'll try to answer all of the comments that you send on the Facebook link. But if you want to reach us, we have an email. I got food in my mouth. rgcatering@aol.com. You can always find us there. Hit us up on Facebook. Follow us on YouTube. And we'll take suggestions and answer any questions that you have. Thanks so much for joining us. You don't know how much fun this has been and how much time this is killing for me while we're all locked in the house. Thank you very much. Have a great day.